Hi, I'm Beth, and I've been gardening with native plants for over a decade. And on this channel, I'm sharing my journey transforming my Midwestern yard into a native plant paradise that's not only beautiful, but also packed with ecological function. So be sure to subscribe if you want to follow along. I'll be sharing updates to my garden as I transform spaces, information about native plants and how to care for an ecological garden. Plus, I love doing experiments in my garden, so I'm going to be sharing those projects too, and you can learn along with me. And since fall is upon us in the Midwest, I thought I'd take some time to discuss the leaves, specifically leaving the leaves. Maybe you've heard people talking about this. It sounds pretty straightforward. You leave the leaves, they fall off the trees, you leave them where they are. Easy peasy, right? Except if you've tried this, especially if you live in the city or in the suburbs, you've probably already figured out that maybe it's not so simple. Today, I'm going to teach you a few different options you have for ways that you might leave the leaves and some reasons why you might choose each option. But before we go any farther, why leave the leaves at all? To answer this question, it's helpful to think about what happens with leaves when they fall off trees in nature. So when leaves fall, they cover the ground below the tree. The leaves create this layer that inhibits seed germination and it helps the soil hold its moisture. And then as the leaves break down, they add nutrients to the soil, which improves soil health and improves its ability to retain carbon. In addition to that, there are many invertebrates that overwinter in these leaves. And these critters are crucial to soil health and they form the foundation of the food web. So this is what's happening in nature. And ideally, we want to reap as much of that benefit for our own yards as we can. So by leaving our leaves, we can actually make our yards into a carbon sink. Did you know that yards where organic matter like leaves or grass clippings is kept in place capture 32% more carbon than yards where those materials are removed? And that's to say nothing of the soil health and other benefits that you get from leaving those leaves. So with that in mind, let's talk about some options for how we might do that. The first option you have is simply to literally leave the leaves. So that's the most natural, it's the most beneficial, and if you've got the space where you can truly just let the leaves lie where they fall, then I really encourage you to do that because you are getting all those benefits. Recycling nutrients, check. Overwintering insects, check. And it's the easiest one, right? You literally do nothing. But it's also pretty impractical in most suburban and urban settings. Fall tends to be windy. The leaves blow all over the place, like into my neighbor's yard or the storm drain. Plus, if you've got a lawn, it's going to leave bald patches in your lawn where the leaves are killing off the grass. So, what to do? Well, another option that you have is to rake the leaves into your beds. So you can give your beds a boost for next year with all of that leaf matter. You keep the organic matter on site and you're allowing those insects to overwinter in that leaf litter. Some potential problems you're going to run into, the leaves will still have a tendency to blow away from where you raked them. So if you're raking them into a bed that's cleared, maybe like your veggie beds, you've cleared them out for the winter, you can pile leaves on top and then put something on top of that to hold them down. So maybe branches or flower pots or 2x4s, something that's going to keep those leaves in place. Now, for flower beds, refraining from a fall cleanup is going to help keep those leaves in place. So if you leave all those dead twigs and stems standing over winter, they're going to help hold all of those leaves. And the more dense your plantings are, the better able they will be to hold on to those leaves. So if you find though that they're still blowing away in areas where you don't want them, there are a couple more ways that you might think about keeping them in place. So one option would be a short fence, maybe decorative fencing or fencing, to keep out rabbits, something like that around your beds. Another option would be to gently crunch up the leaves before you add them to the bed. So that's going to help keep the leaves, make them a little less aerodynamic so that they are less likely to fly away. It can get a little time consuming though to do this. But you know, if you've got kids or if you really love rolling around in a leaf pile, you can rake a big old pile and roll around in it, and that'll crunch the leaves up a little bit for you before you add them to your beds. Another thing I've tried that I would say didn't work as well would be to keep the leaves whole and then try to put some mulched leaves or compost on top of them. But I didn't find that it worked very well. This is still something I try to experiment with because I really want to keep as many leaves in my yard as I can. So with that in mind, do you have any tips? Let me know if you've tried something that really works well for keeping leaves where you want them. Let me know in the comments. And then the third option that you have is making leaf piles in your yard. So if it doesn't fit in the beds, no problem. Just create a pile in your yard. Use it like compost after the leaves have broken down. You're still keeping all of that organic matter in place, and you're protecting overwintering insects. You could create a container out of wire or something like that for them, or you can just find a corner of your yard, maybe where they want to naturally blow anyway. Find a place where they'll stay put and let them pile up there. And the final option that you have is to mulch your leaves with a mower. So if you've got a lot of lawn, this might be a good option for you. So if there are more leaves than you can possibly fit into your beds, then go ahead and pile all those leaves onto your lawn and run them over with a mulching mower until they're small enough to kind of filter through the leaves of grass and down to the soil surface. So maybe like a ½ inch or so. This method, unfortunately, won't help the overwintering insects, but it does keep the organic matter on site, which is going to help the soil and improve carbon retention. But you should think about adding more native plants to your yard and shrinking your lawn. So the best way to leave your leaves, that's going to depend on your yard and what you are able to do, your time and energy. If you've got an area in your yard that you can truly just let the leaves pile up and lie where they fall, give it a try. Keeping the leaves whole and in place is going to provide maximum ecological benefit. But also don't get bogged down in doing the perfect thing with your leaves. Whatever you can do, do that. That's going to be the best thing you can do with your leaves. Thanks for watching to the end. I'm planning to do another video about native plants for front yards that will look great and fit in with more traditional landscapes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe. How are you leaving your leaves this year? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it.